so it seems that the Micro Four Thirds themed videos have done very well with my audience. I shall try to keep you interested and engaged in my activities, and such I have decided to do a follow-up series of sorts with cheap Micro Four Thirds cameras. Now, I'm not going to try to wax lyrically and sing odes about these cameras. In 2026 you already know them. They are the Olympus EPL1 and the Lumix G1. Actually the first, or one of the first, Micro Four Thirds mirrorless cameras on the market. So I'm just gonna spend a few minutes discussing about the build quality, performance, price. Well, hopefully we'll draw up some conclusions about these cameras, whether they're worth it or not. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So build quality of the Olympus EPL1 and the Panasonic G1. Well, actually both of them are executed and assembled impeccably. They use high quality materials and the fit and finish is exquisite. However, here we start to see some differences. The Lumix G1, and I shall try to show it to you now, is actually a bit more utilitarian, a bit more feature focused, a bit less, I don't know, artifice in design. There's nothing really exciting or groundbreaking going on. There are actually two important characteristics to discuss. One of them is the modular screen, the tilting screen, which is a huge bonus for such an old camera. I bet it made quite the impression when it was launched. The other thing, not so great, is, well, the sticky paint. You can see here it's a two-component layer paint, or tri-component, I don't know. Well, the idea is that in time it degrades and it gets very sticky. It's covered with grime, and it acts like a duct tape. You can hear. Yeah, so my fingers get sticky into it. It's actually very unpleasant. It's almost gross to the touch, and well, it's disgusting. This example here is in better condition, but still it suffers from the same malady. This is a huge letdown for the Lumix G1, and I believe it's the main reason why these cameras are so cheap. But we'll get to the price in a minute. Now, the Olympus EPL1, well, Olympus went all in with the fit and finish, the materials, and, well, the, I don't know, the feel of the thing. It mimics premium cameras, even though it's all plastic, fantastic all the way. Well, these strap latches here are actually metallic, and the lens mount, of course, the Micro Four Thirds proprietary lens mount is metallic, but other than that, it's well, it's plastic all the way. I'm not really a fan of this small screen, but I can live with it. I feel the back plate is a bit well, lacking in design pizzazz, if you will. Anyway, the back design is well, it's not really that impressive, and I feel the camera is a bit too squarish, and, well, I'm not a fan of the design, but I will give it to Olympus in terms of quality and fit and finish. It is above the Panasonic, especially when you compare older and more used G1s like this one. This thing is actually disgusting in its own right. This thing is, well, it needs to be clean, let's just put it mildly. However, ergonomics and fit and finish aside, there is a more important aspect about these cameras that needs to be discussed in today's world, and that is actual real-world performance. Well, photography performance, since the G1 doesn't really offer film features. So yeah, this thing does not record a video, and this thing records in 720p, so that's not really that relevant either. but you get the idea. So without any further delay, let's get on to testing these two cameras. Now I shall try to take a few photos in a macro mode with subject separation, nature shots, low light conditions, possibly a bit of a panoramic shot, and we shall see what the results are. Also, in keeping with the theme of the bang for the buck video and budget-friendly camera and lens options out there, I shall be using the 14 to 45 Lumix kit lens, the jack of all trades, the Swiss Army lens as I like to call it, and well, we shall see what the results are. So I have taken a couple of shots with the Olympus EPL1 and the Panasonic G1, and I can draw up some conclusions. First of all, the embody image stabilization in the Olympus makes a huge difference. With a caveat, because sometimes it doesn't work, but I'll get to that in a bit. So the Olympus, at least in my humble opinion, has consistently outpassed the Lumix G1 in terms of performance. Images are crisper, details are finer, autofocus works better, even color rendering, a thing that the Lumix should actually excel at, was surpassed by the Olympus. And I shall show you some sample photos here so you can know what I am referring to. Now that doesn't mean that the Lumix G1 is a bad camera, not at all. And possibly it is my fault for being actually a bit of a fumbler in terms of photography. I'm not really that experienced, and I'm not really that good at making artistic or meaningful shots. However, that just proves my point that the Lumix G1 needs a bit too much tinkering and finessing in order to produce the best results when it comes to beginner photography. Because, let's face it, that's what we're dealing with here. So then, the subsequent conclusions. When it works, the IBIS on the Olympus EPL1 makes a huge difference. Now, the problem is that the IBIS on this camera is actually plastic geared, and well, these plastic gears are not really, well, they're not the most reliable system out there. Up until the EPL3, I believe, these are very notorious in terms of failure. Actually, my other two Olympus EPL1s shown here suffer from this malady. These both have non-functioning IBIS systems, which is a rather shame. Now, I'm not going to compare them with the Lumix G1 because it would be besides the point of this video. Actually, I am not trying to decide a winner between these two. It's clear that, in my hands at least, the Olympus EPL1 had a slight advantage. That's not to mean the Lumix G1 is a bad camera at all. It needs a bit of finessing, tinkering, but is actually more robust and rigid than the Olympus EPL1, albeit a bit more grimy and unpleasant to touch. The Olympus EPL1 feels more premium, but suffers from the IBIS issue. However, when you compare the two, the Olympus EPL1, when functioning, gives off better results. So the conclusion is not a mixed bag, but rather an open-ended subject. I shall leave you to decide. However, my own conclusion is that whenever you get such a camera, for approximately 30 to 50 euros, do not hesitate for one bit to purchase it. It gives off very pleasing results. They both offer great ergonomics. They both offer that satisfaction of pursuing a hobby, a passion project, just for the sheer fun of it. Of course, subsequent discussions can be had about the validity of such devices in 2026. So if you plan to advance further in your photography pursuits, then these things shall become obsolete quite quickly. However, that should not impede you in pursuing such a wonderful passion project like digital photography. As for me, I shall continue to collect, purchase and hoard weird and quirky obsolete tech stuff like this plethora of Micro Four Thirds digital cameras, so you don't have to. I thank you for watching and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.